Welcome back. Illinois saw more people traveling from out of state for abortion care than any other place in the nation. That's according to a study from the Guttmacher Institute. Now, these figures come as the Supreme Court has dealt a major blow to Planned Parenthood in a ruling that came down today. And joining me is Sarah Garza-Resnick, Chief Executive Officer at Personal PAC, and Peter Breen, Executive Vice President and Head of Litigation at Thomas More Society. Thank you both for joining us. First, to that Supreme Court ruling today, Sarah Garza-Resnick, it essentially blocked a Medicaid patient from suing to force coverage at Planned Parenthood that this patient was seeking. Unpack this for us. What's the ultimate effect?
I mean, it's a shameful day in America. Donald Trump's handpicked Supreme Court justices stripped women on Medicaid of the freedom of deciding who their doctors are and where they access health care. And that health care are things like mammograms and cancer screenings and access to birth control.
And basically, the Supreme Court, it was a minimal ruling, Peter Green. I mean, it didn't necessarily rule that the state could defund Planned Parenthood. But what do you think the ultimate effect is this?
Well, and the ultimate effect here is that states don't have to spend their taxpayers' money, over with organizations like Planned Parenthood that profit off abortion or distribute these dangerous gender transition drugs to minors. That's the state's right. Now, but I will say this, as a lawyer, the whole point here, the legal idea was really not a big deal. If this weren't about abortion, the lawyers would be going, well, yeah, of course, you can't sue if Congress doesn't give you a right to sue, which they didn't give you. The problem we've had is the courts have expanded concepts in law to try to accommodate Planned Parenthood or the abortion right. And so really if this weren't about abortion, this would be a ho-hum decision from the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, though, because abortion is so politicized, the law, we're having to discuss it, as if it were the end of the world, instead of just a regular legal ruling that makes a lot of sense to constitutional lawyers.
And again, Sarah Garza-Resnick, we mentioned it's kind of a narrow ruling. So are there other fronts that Planned Parenthood plans to fight to be able to continue to be funded through Medicaid in all 50 states?
Yeah, I don't think women's health care is ho-hum. It's not a joke. When people die when they don't have access to preventative health care screenings like mammogram and cancer screenings and STI treatment, and access to birth control is essential. I don't think any woman in this country or the people who love us think our access to health care is ho-hum.
And we also mentioned this study from the Guttmacher Institute that shows 34,000 people traveling to Illinois from out of state to get an abortion. Peter Breen, the Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe v. Wade, the Dobbs decision was a victory for the pro-life movement, but it has also led to this situation. Is this sort of maybe the law of unintended consequences here, that abortion is actually up in the state of Illinois?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have become the hub for abortion for the entire southeastern United States. They come to southern Illinois. Our neighboring states all come to us. I mean, people are coming to Illinois from around the country to get abortions. And so, the people of Illinois, they have to make a decision. Do we want to be the abortion capital of the country? Is that really what we want to be known for? I mean, look, we just put, the Speaker of the House, when I was in the legislature, Mike Madigan, he's going to go to prison for years. Is this really, are we going to add that to our list? I mean, we have to answer that, though, as Illinoisans. Is this what we want to be? And hopefully we don't. But I do want to make the point, no one is losing coverage or care because of this decision. The state of South Carolina was very careful. They said, look, for all of the legit healthcare decisions, we're not talking about abortion and gender transition drugs for minors. They made sure that there was going to be care. It's just, you can't go, they're not going to have an abortion clinic do it. They're not going to have Planned Parenthood do it. So it's really a misnomer there, from my learned colleague. I mean, look, folks are not going to lose care because of this decision.
All right, Sarah Garza-Resnick, I do want to stick on this topic of this study. When you look at this number, 35,000 folks coming to Illinois for abortion care, Illinois being sort of the hub, because it is a blue state and a sea of red, are healthcare providers in the state equipped for this volume and this demand?
Thank you for the question, Paris. We have worked very hard with our elected officials and other advocates to make sure that Illinois has robust protections for reproductive health care, including abortion. Almost 2/3 of the people who received abortions in Illinois last year were our neighbors and our colleagues and our friends, people that depended on that life-saving essential health care. The rest of the people who had to come here from out of state came here because their elected officials think they know more about their bodies than themselves and their doctors. And those people had to leave their family and their friends and their jobs and come to this state to receive life-saving essential health care.
Peter Breen, President Donald Trump and his campaign was kind of back and forth on this because this is a touchy political issue. But is it your belief that Republicans that control both branches of Congress, both houses of Congress and the executive branch as well, want to go for a national abortion ban, given the situation in states like Illinois and elsewhere?
No, that's not the position of the Republican Party at this point. Certainly, as a personal matter and organizationally, we at the Thomas More Society are pro-life, we're pro-life from conception to natural death. And so, but that's a position that the American people don't necessarily agree on. And, abortion is still our most contentious social issue, has been for many, many years. That debate will continue. The thing that the Republicans did agree on, or appear to be agreeing on in Congress, is that they do not want Planned Parenthood or other abortion entities doing Medicaid services. So you may see the whole country's abortion clinics be funded from Medicaid. So that says, hey, we're going to make sure essential coverage is provided, but we don't want to combine it with abortions. We don't want to combine it with these services that we find objectionable. So that that's happening there. I would say too, though, this business of what we've done in Illinois. It's not like we've become we're just the hub for abortions. We're not exactly the poster child for appropriate abortion. We're not the poster child for this. I mean, we allow abortions with no ultrasound. We're letting non-doctors into this, doing abortions. We really, it's not like we've improved safety standards or care standards here. We just opened the floodgates. And so people are coming in and, we don't have parental notice. So your 14-year-old can be brought into Illinois and aborted. This is not something we should be proud of.
All right, Peter Breen, and Sarah Garza-Resnick, thank you so much for joining us.